Welcome to the castle. My name is Alex. I am your GM, your player, your host for A Table for One, a solo actual play podcast. In the last episode, Jaina and Rorik explored a little bit of the Rittermound tomb. They encountered a frightened goblin that tried to run away, but Jaina and Rorik managed to catch up with him. The goblin became infatuated with Jaina, and Rorik went ahead and explored a little bit ahead to unlock the portcullis, thanks to the keys from the goblin. They also had to fight a wight, as it appeared suddenly and knocked the goblin back, but ultimately it was no match for Rorik and Jaina. And so we begin with a scene with Rorik and Jaina and our new goblin companion. Rorik and Jaina watched the goblin frantically eating the jerky given to him. While he didn't do anything in the fight against the wraith, he still showed some valor in the confrontation, and he was the only one to receive an attack. Jaina begins to sign as the creature distracts itself with eating. Rorik manages to catch the extended finger moving across her neck.
But why? I mean, look at him. He hasn't done anything yet.
Jaina signs yet again to a similar result as the goblin burps.
But I kinda like him. Look. I've even named him. From now on, he shall be known as Grub.
Jaina looks at him with one of those expressions that Rorik has come to learn that she can't believe what he is saying. Rorik leans in closer and whispers,
Look, if anything, Grub could serve as a distraction in a fight. The big scary things always go after the weakest link. Everyone knows this.
Jaina sighs, a signal of her defeat in this endeavor. As she walks away, she stops and turns to him, hands moving in strict fashion before she points to Grub and then heads off. Grub follows her.
It won't come to that, Jaina. You'll see. You'll survive and you'll live many goblin years. You won't turn out to be like FIFO.
FIFO was Rorik and Jaina's rabbit that they adopted when they were children. That is, until Rorik fed it a strange green fruit which led to its untimely death. Since the way forward is now open, Rorik, Jaina, and the goblin companion are going to proceed into the next room. And so as Rorik approaches from the front, he notices that there's like a desk there with some sort of a mummified corpse. This is a small room with an oak table in the middle and burning torches on the walls. A mummified woman in gilded chainmail is sitting at the far end of the table. An iron-fitted oak door behind the mummy bears an ancient symbol in glittering silver. And so Rorik is going to be extremely cautious. Even though he did encounter some statues at the very entrance of the tomb, and there wasn't anything funny going on there, there's still ghosts and things like that in this tomb. They've already encountered the wight, and so he's going to be very cautious about this corpse that's just sitting here. He's heard some stories. He knows that there's going to be some sort of a guardian in these types of tombs, especially if there's something important, possibly behind that door. And to make matters worse, there are torches all along the walls. It's some sort of a magical fire, and he definitely didn't light that up. So there's something magical going on here. He is going to be at laser focus, and his eyes are just going to be scanning around. And so the first thing that he is going to do, he's going to inspect this mummified corpse. That armor is still pretty sweet. It looks sort of shiny in a way. It's gilded, so that means that it hasn't been worn down. In the mummy's hands is this war hammer of some sort. It looks quite deadly, and it looks heavy as well. Rorik is going to have to use a bit of strength to pry it from her fingers if he wants to. He doesn't want to touch it. He wants to leave the dead alone for now. At least until he's sure that it's not a ghost or something like that, or there aren't any traps associated with it. Jaina, on the other hand, is going to go to the far door, and she's going to begin to inspect it because there's some sort of a symbol there. And so she's going to make a myths and legend check. Now, Jaina is actually pretty good at myths and legends. She studied at the mage school, and so she's got some knowledge of those sorts of things. Her myths and legends is at a 13, so let's see what she gets. a 3. So right off the bat, she's going to know that this is the same type of a symbol that they saw in the antechamber, or the entrance to the tomb. So this must have something to do with the Dragon Emperor or something along those lines. As soon as she runs her hands across that door or that symbol, the mummy begins to stir. Its eyes immediately open and it jerks forward, and Rorik kind of scoots back a little bit and begins to grab his sword and his shield. Grub probably lets out a little yelp as he just stumbles back, and the mummified corpse begins to speak. Although Rorik can't understand her, or at least not right away. This woman is speaking a different language, and I think Jaina is going to make a language check to see if she can understand her. She's had the training and the education from back in the mage school, so maybe she picked up something from back then. So her language is at a 12, so let's see what she gets. An 11, so we just barely passed. And so Jaina understands that this woman is saying something about the dragon and the empire and get away from that door. Jaina begins to back away very slowly, and she gets to Rorik's side, and she go ahead and tells him that this is a guardian of some sort. The woman keeps speaking, and Jaina manages to pick up a couple more words like Eladane, which is some sort of a name that she doesn't quite recognize, at least not yet. And also something about corruption and a cleansing fire. Jaina doesn't know specifically what this means just yet, but she keeps those in the back of her mind, maybe possibly for processing later. Rorik kind of leans over and he whispers, "Okay, so how are we going to get past her? I assume that if we try to get through the door, she's just going to attack like a good guardian does?" And Jaina just simply nods her head. And this is kind of a really weird one because I want to do a persuasion check to see if we could somehow get past this ghost lady, which means Jaina is going to have to speak to it, sign, but at the same time, that's going to give a bane because, well, it's sign language and the lady might not actually recognize that. Also, the lady is very specifically here to guard this tomb, this area that they're about to go into, so I don't think it's that feasible that she's just going to let them go through. So I am going to roll a persuasion for Jaina, but it is going to be done at a bane. And her persuasion is only at 6, so a bane, let's see what she gets. Despite me almost fumbling that roll, a 6 and a 7 just don't quite hit it. That was so close though. And so I think in the end, this woman's just going to stand up with that warhammer in both hands. And Rorik immediately pulls out his sword. Jaina kind of backs up and gets ready. And Grub is just kind of sitting there with his dagger in between two hands, kind of shaking a little bit. And so we're going to have ourselves a fight. So this lady is a translucent, faintly blue shimmering phantom of a tall warrior maiden in full-length chainmail and a gilded headband. Her face looks sad and dignified though, at least for now. She is considered a ghost, which we'll find in the actual core rulebook. So she's got a ferocity of 2, so she gets 2 turns in a round, and she's at 27 HP. She doesn't have any armor. Instead, she's got immunity. Ghosts are immaterial beings and immune to all damage except magic and fire. A defeated ghost is only banished for 1 shift, after which it returns. The only way to banish the ghost permanently is to cast Purge, or solve whatever problems keep it bound to the world of the living. Unlike other monsters, ghosts can usually be persuaded, albeit with a bane on the roll, which is what I was going for there. So we're gonna go ahead and draw for initiative. And so we're gonna have Rorik, then Jaina, then Grub, and then the ghost lady. She's gonna draw twice though. So for Rorik, he's got a 4. For Jaina, we have a 10. Uh-oh. That's not so good, because she's probably gonna be the only one that can damage the thing. A 1 for Grub. Oh man, are you kidding me? And for the lady, we have 2 and a 5. So she gets to go after Grub and after Rorik. Uh-oh. This isn't so good already. I think what Grub is going to do, he's just going to, well, he's going to keep his short sword in his hands, but the goddess lady, Jaina, is in danger. And so I think he's going to summon up as much courage as he can muster, and he's going to just rush in there with his little short sword. Now, this isn't going to do any damage by any means, but I'm still going to roll. He's got a sword skill of 12, and so he gets a 4, and he passes like right through her. And he looks around confused as he just like goes right through her. Next, we have the ghost lady. Uh-oh. So here we go. We have to roll a d6 for her monster attack. So let's see what she's going to do to us. A 4, death stare. The ghost towers over a player character, staring directly into their soul with its dead eyes. The victim sees their life pass before their eyes and is tormented by grotesque visions of all their dead friends and foes. The victim becomes scared, suffers a fear attack, and gets a bane on their will roll. So we're going to go ahead and roll to see whether she's going to attack Grub, Rorik, or Jaina. So a 1 or a 2 is going to be Rorik, a 3 or 4 is going to be Jaina, and a 5 and 6 will be Grub. A 2, so it's going to be Rorik. Ooh, this is going to be very interesting. So the lady ghost just kind of hovers there above Rorik as it just stares right into his soul. And he begins to see visions of the past, of when the mages came to take Jaina away, of his time as a mercenary or as a soldier. He's seen a lot of death. He's been in quite a few number of battles, and it comes to haunt him in this instance. So it says that we're scared and we have to make a fear attack, or we suffer a fear attack, which is on page 52 of the horror rulebook. And so it says, there are many horrifying beasts lurking in the ruins and forests of Dragonbane. Such creatures can perform so-called fear attacks. Fear attacks can also be triggered by magic and other terrifying experiences. When struck by a fear attack, you must immediately make a roll against will. The roll can be pushed and does not count as an action. Particularly frightening events can give you a bane on the roll. If the will roll fails, you must roll on the fear table on the next page. Ooh, so that's very interesting. Okay, so Rorik has a will of 9. Oh, so he's got to roll a 9 or under as a bane. So let's see what he's going to get. A 16 and a 14 does not make it. So already we're going to have to roll on this fear table, which is a D8. That's actually really unusual because most things here are D6s. So let's roll our D8 and see what happens. A 6. Rage. Your fear turns to anger, and you are forced to attack its source on your next turn. In melee combat if possible. You also become angry. So we do mark that condition for Rorik. He's now angry, but he's also kind of like in a berserk fury mode, which is actually kind of sweet. So we're not stunned or anything like that. We're just going to attack this ghost lady. And if you do remember, he does have the World Breaker sword, which is a magic sword. So he can deal some damage to her. Let's see what happens. He's in a fury right now. He's going to roll 14 or under for his swords. So let's see what happens. An 8 does hit, so he actually does succeed. So we have 2d8 plus a d4 for the extra damage. So let's see how much damage he's going to do to her. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus another 3 is 11 damage. So that's actually pretty solid right there. So I imagine that when Rorik just slashes at the lady, she just kind of shrieks and is rather surprised that this sword has actually dealt some damage to her. Is she frightened by that prospect? Possibly, but also this lady is a warrior, so she's got to steel her nerves. By the way, it is now her turn yet again. So we got our d6. Let's see what she's going to do this time. A 6. Oh boy. Cold strike. The ghost grabs a victim and lets the icy chill of death stream into their body. The player character suffers 2d8 damage and cannot heal HP or WP until they spend one shift in a warm location. Armor has no effect. Uh-oh, that's bad, because Rorik has armor, and that's pretty much been his saving grace in this entire playthrough so far. So, let's find out. Actually, I think it only stands to reason that the lady is going to attack Rorik, who's actually dealt some damage to her. So 2d8, no bonuses there, thank goodness. Let's see what happens. 5 and 1 is 6 damage. That's actually fairly light. That could have just totally destroyed Rorik in one hit, but it's kind of just scratched the surface there. I'd say that it scratches the surface, but it almost dealt half of his total HP and damage right there, so there is that. That is the lady's turn, which means it is now Jaina's turn, and, well, she saw this ghost lady harm her brother, so she is going to go full-on rage mode with Fireball. Now, Jaina's elementalism is at 13, so let's see what happens. 17. Oh no. That is not good at all, but I think that we're just gonna let it be for this moment. Now, even though Jaina was unsuccessful in her casting, we still take off WP for that attack, which kind of sucks a little bit, but hey, the game would probably be easy if every time we failed, we would just, get the WP back. So I am playing it like, even though we didn't succeed, we still take off the cost for that attack, which can get deadly in the long run. But for now, that's how we're gonna do it. Anyways, that is it for the round. So we are going to draw for initiative again. Let's see, Rorik, 1, that's what we wanna see. Jaina, 9, not much better than the last round. Grub, 10, oh. Well, I mean, not that he could do anything anyways. The lady, she's not going first. She's also not going last, so that means she's got to go second and third. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So Rorik's got to do something here, or else this ghost might very well finish him off. And so he is going to try to swipe at her with his World Breaker sword, see if he can do just a little bit more damage to make it back off or something along those lines. So let's see what happens. A 2. Wow, we are always so close to getting a dragon, but it's never there. 2d8 plus a d4. Can we actually do the damage? That's a lot of 2s. That's actually 3 2s. 6 damage. Oh, not quite there yet. So the lady is down to 10 HP. Rorik was unsuccessful. He just took a little bit of a swipe, probably just grazed into her just a little bit, but she's still there. So we gotta see what happens now. Is the lady going to finish Rorik off? Our D6 is gonna tell us. A 4. Another death stare. This time, the ghost is going to turn towards Jaina. She's gotta make a will roll at a Bane to see if she can resist. The good thing is, her will is kind of up there. It's 15, so she stands a chance at resisting this. A 13 and a 16. Oh man, really? Okay. We're not gonna push or anything like that. So we're back to our fear table. We have our D8. Let's see what happens. A 7 this time. Uh-oh, paralyzed. You are petrified with terror and unable to move. You cannot perform any action or movement on your next turn. Make another will roll on each subsequent turn, not an action, to break the paralysis. But it doesn't say that it's done at a Bane, so I'm just gonna go ahead and roll it straight up as we normally would. That's actually really debilitating because that's another source of damage that's just negated to us for this round, which means the ghost is more likely to attack again next round and possibly finish Rorik or Jaina off. And so this time, as the lady stares at Jaina, Jaina begins to see the past, her past, of when she left home, or as she was taken from home by the mages. Her time spent in the mage's tower. All the different tests that she had to go through to see if she was even worthy enough of studying under them. Many children did not make it. Throughout the years of her growth, there were more and more tests. Many of the people that she would have called friends didn't make it until there was just her. She was worthy enough with a small group of others, but then she was the one that was chosen for some other greatness. She tries to black out that memory, but it comes to her at full force. They set her up. They want her to be a host for some sort of a demonic force, and she resisted as best as she could. And in the end, she succeeded. When Rorik found her in the debris of that tower, there was her, but there were also so many bodies. Some were very much disfigured, demonic in ways, monstrous. Rorik saved her from a horrid fate, but that memory is always going to be forever in the back of her mind. The lady ghost does get to go again, which means another d6. Let's see what happens. A 2. The touch of death. The ghost sticks its translucent hand into the chest of an unfortunate player character and grasps the victim's heart. The victim suffers 2d10 points of damage and becomes scared. Armor has no effect. Uh-oh. And I think this one is going to be one for Jaina, since she is the one that's paralyzed. And that really stinks, but uh-oh. 2d10. This could easily destroy Jaina right here, right now. 8. 6 and 2 make 8. Jaina is safe, but just barely. And Grub, of course, is going to see that the hand is just there inside of Jaina, and he just kind of sees the woman that he's so infatuated with just suffering like some sort of a heart attack, and he's going to, I don't know, he's going to have like a little bit of a panic. But I would also like to see if maybe he could be aware of something. I'm just going to roll a d20, and I'm going to roll for Grub's awareness, which is at 10. He rolled a 7. So he's going to see the torch that Rorik dropped to illuminate this room, and he's going to pick it up, and he's going to take a swipe at the ghost lady. Of all things, Grub might be the one to finish him off. Probably not, though. So the torch does 2d6 points of damage. Fire damage, that's very important because the only way to harm a ghost is by fire or magic. So let's see what he's got. A 4 and a 5 make 9. Ooh, that was so close. He almost actually destroyed the ghost. The ghost is just hanging by a thread at this point. And, well, the round is over. Grub did the best that he could, but we're going to see if it was all for naught or if Rorik and Jaina can somehow pull this off. All right, Rorik, Jaina, Grub, the ghost lady. Rorik, a 10. Oh, he's going last this time. Jaina, an 8. She is also potentially going next to last. Grub, a 5. Well, you might have a chance to, end it all. The lady. 9. Okay. Let's see. A 3. So the lady is going first. The ghost lady has one last chance to kind of end things here. She's got a d6. Let's see. Another 4. Death stare. So there's only one more person left here, and that is Grub. So the ghost just kind of hovers above Grub, who's already frightened because he's fighting a ghost. We're gonna roll a d20 for Grub, and in the rule book it says that if there are no stats associated with whatever you're trying to roll, that it's just assumed that it's going to be a 10. So his will is going to be 10 for the purposes of this roll. A 9 and an 11. So we have our d8 to see what's going to happen on the fear table. And that is a 1. Enfeebled. The fear drains your energy and determination. You lose 2d6 WP and become disheartened. I don't think that's really going to do anything for Grub, as he doesn't really use WP. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and say that he is just kind of shaken with fear and he's not going to be able to do anything for this round. And so with Grub just shaken with fear, unable to really do anything in this instance, it's going to be Jaina's turn, and she's got one chance to end it all here. Everything is just so cold for Jaina, and so she's going to go ahead and do her magic and cast Fireball. The lady is kind of like there, like right in front of her, or I guess she's over by Grub. So the lady is fairly close by, so she should have no problems in hitting it. But let's see. Jaina needs a 13 or under to hit. That's a 6, so she is very much successful, which means the lady is kind of dead, or alive, at this point. The damage is going to be 2d6, but I just kind of want to see how much we're doing. That's 4. The lady ghost is still done though. Something rather unusual is going to happen here. The lady begins to dissipate in a way, but as she does, she has like this pleasant smile on her face, and soon her hands are completely gone and the warhammer just falls to the ground with a heavy thud. And as the rest of her body also kind of like dissipates, the armor falls until it's just her head, and then the last piece to fall is like this headband, and it just kind of falls on top of the armor. Everybody just falls back as they just take a seat and just let out a collective sigh. This was a tough battle for all of them. That ghost really did a number on them. Not only that, everybody is cold. Jaina is going to cast Heat, or Chill, in this instance Heat, because we want this place to be warm. She's going to go ahead and just warm the entire area. And we're going to take a second here to kind of recuperate and lick our wounds a little bit. So I think the first thing that we really need to do is go ahead and figure out our WP situation. Rorik hasn't used any WP, so we don't have to roll for him, but Jaina has. And so I'm going to roll a d6 to see how much willpower points we're going to actually heal up there. So she only heals up 1. That's really unfortunate, but that's the way the dice roll sometimes. So she is only down to 12 out of 15, by the way. So she's not in a very good position. She does get to heal up 1 condition, and she is scared. We're going to heal that one up. Again, we don't have to worry about Rorik and his willpower point situation because he hasn't used any, but he is also angry, so we're going to go ahead and heal that one up. Now we need to see who's tending to who. So in the core rulebook, you heal 2d6 points of HP if someone is tending to you, and they have to make a medicine check. Now, the problem with that is the person who's doing the caregiving cannot heal. So that means it's either going to be Rorik to heal Jaina or Jaina to heal Rorik. Or we could also fit Grub in there somehow. What I think we're going to do here is that Jaina is going to end up healing Rorik. She's going to take some of the bandages from his backpack and she's going to go ahead and start to wrap him up. So this is basically to avoid having a bane on healing rolls. So we're just going to roll our single d20, and she's got a healing of 12. So let's see what happens. A 4, so that means Rorik gets to heal 2d6 points of damage. That is 6 points right there, so he should be all full up. After Jaina has finished tending to Rorik's wounds, he is going to go over to this Warhammer, this Fiend Crusher, and he's going to stow it away in his inventory. So he's going to be kind of close to being encumbered at this point, especially because he's going to take a look at the chainmail that the lady was wearing, and he's also going to stow that away. Now, we did take a full stretch of rest time, so as much as I really don't want to, we do have to roll for a random event, and it is going to be a d6 plus 3. So let's see what happens. d6 plus 3. That is a 6. So Draconic Visions, yet again. This one is going to be for Jaina because it's the one that makes the most sense. So she's going to have maybe a similar vision, if not the same vision from before. So she's got to roll a will save with a Bane, of course. And her will is at 15, so let's see what happens. 17 and 17. Oh no. So I've got the D8. Let's roll it and see what happens. 7. She is now paralyzed. I'm not going to bother rolling for this because it's not during combat. But Rorik does see that she is just stricken with fear. And he goes over to her and he comforts her for a little bit of time until she manages to snap herself out of it. And then they're going to go to the door. To Rorik's surprise, this is the very last room. In the middle of a burial chamber with torches on the wall stands a podium with an ornate sarcophagus of stone. The floor, ceiling, and walls are all made of stone bricks. A painting of a ridden dragon can be seen on the far wall. And Jaina immediately goes over to this painting and she puts her hand upon it as if she's recollecting. This is the same thing that she saw in her vision. But of course, she's not really going to go out and say that. Rorik is going to go over to the sarcophagus because there's something strange going on. The lid to the sarcophagus lies in shattered pieces. It's almost as if something came out from it. But not only that, he sees something in the midst of all of these pieces. He sees that there's some sort of something that's shaped very well. And in fact, he kind of recognizes a little bit. He looks inside of his backpack for a moment until he pulls out the wrapped bundle that this man, Weatherman, gave him, the statuette piece. And he looks down at this thing that's in there, and it also looks like the sort of the same statuette piece. He is going to roll spot hidden to see if there's anything that he should be aware of. These sorts of things in the stories are always trapped for some reason, and so he's going to look for any traps inside of the sarcophagus. Rorik's spot hidden is at 13, so fairly decent, so let's see what happens. 19. Ooh, that was very close to a demon. So he does not spot the trap that is inside. And so as he takes the statuette piece, something happens. He hears the sudden whirring of gears or something like that as these saw blades shoot out from the sarcophagus in all different directions. And so he's going to have to make a evasion check. And of course, since he's wearing some heavy armor, that's going to be at a Bane. Also, his evasion's at 10, so it's not the best in the world. So let's see what happens. Ooh, look at that. We got a dragon. Awesome. In addition to that, he got a 6, so he actually passed. He hears the whirring, and he backs out of the way. He jumps out of the way very quickly with the statuette piece in hand. And so Jaina and Grub are both like back up against the wall out of the way of these saw blades as they come out and just try to get to Rorik. To no avail, of course. And he's like, oops, sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen. And he slowly walks forward and they all slowly go back to what they were doing. Jaina goes back to the picture and there are these runes, an inscription across. She is going to make a language check to see if she can understand what the inscription is. And she's got a 12 in language, so let's see what happens. A 14. Unfortunately, she does not really glean anything out of this inscription. Now, unfortunately, we did spend a little bit of time here in this room. And so we're going to have to roll for a random event. But there is one that I am going to go ahead and choose. The white suddenly rises from the sarcophagus that he had been laid down in. He had been recuperating this entire time, regathering his strength. When Rorik and Jaina and even Grub saw him the first time, he was ragged looking. His armor wasn't as clean as it should have been. He was decrepit, as an undead should look. This time, however, his armor looks like it's been better kept in shape. This white is back for vengeance, and he looks more powerful this time around. And that is where we're going to leave things off.
Great. You just had to touch whatever was in there, didn't you? We barely survived the ghost lady, and now we're going to have to fight the wight again. Something tells me that this will be no walk in the park. Check back every other Thursday for a new episode of Table for One, a solo role-playing podcast. If you would like to support this podcast, please rate it or give it a thumbs up wherever you happen to be listening from. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, subscribe and be sure to leave a comment. Music was provided by Tabletop Audio and AI voice work by 11 Labs. I say we sacrifice the goblin and make a run for it.